fills and fulfills this very moment with the clarity and consciousness and expanding the divine consciousness expressing itself through the Sunday message as Corliss, licensed practitioner, brings forth the message. We are all open and receptive to this truth of knowing that we are richly blessed. We are pulled by the vision of spirit in our lives, and in this very moment, we are so grateful. And together we can affirm, and so it is.
Hello again. I am Corliss Serber, and I think now, officially the senior practitioner here at the Beaumont Center for Spiritual Living, and it just lightens my heart to know that Adrian and Yvonne have passed their orals and their writtens, and now where there's 3 of us, plus our wonderful Reverend Beverly. Let's give them a hand again. You know, the monthly theme happens to be vision, and I believe in living by vision. And this Sunday's talk is We Hold These Truths. And that means to me, the title of my talk, Living in Liberty. You know, I always like to start with something funny, because I'm sort of a la Joel Osteen. So we'll see if you think these are funny. What kind of tea did the American colonists want? Liberty. Remember, I used to teach 2nd grade. How come there's no knock-knock jokes about America? Freedom rings. But you know, having those endorphins work, that helps our brains work so much better. And have you ever thought of yourself, what is your concept of liberty? I have to tell you, in my teaching days, I began in elementary school. And one of my favorite times of teaching elementary happened to be that I got to teach these gifted kids. They were in the 2nd grade. Now, maybe chronologically they were 7 and 8 years old, but let me tell you, they had nothing on Wayne Dyer. Well, I'm going to read you a quote from him. Because we had an actual discussion about what is the difference between freedom and liberty. Now, close your eyes for a second. What do you think the difference is between freedom and liberty? You know what they told me? You have to have liberty in order to be free. Well, duh. Wayne Dyer says this: freedom means that you are unobstructed in living your life as you choose. Anything less is a form of slavery. Now, he was a smart man, right? I think my kids were smarter. Again, I ask you, what is your thought? What do you think? Do you want to live in freedom where you get to do what you want to do when you want to do it? I do. And thank God we live in this country, just as our songs have told us today. We are so fortunate. And you know where else we're fortunate? Because we are here at our Center for Spiritual Living, Beaumont, and we're part of this global vision that our Centers for Spiritual Living is a part of. And it's designed to recognize and use principles. They don't leave us in a lurch. We get principles to use in our daily living. And Ernest Holmes, as we just heard, he wrote many years ago for the Science of Mind magazine, actually, not the least of which is the following in what we believe. Now, I want you to practice what my kids did. So you're just going to practice closing your eyes and listen, okay? Here's the first one. We believe in what we believe. We believe in the incarnation of the Spirit in humankind, that all people are incarnations of the one Spirit. So I ask you, does that sound like freedom? If it is, nod your head. Yeah. Okay, close your eyes again. We also believe in what we believe, that the ultimate goal of life is to be in complete emancipation. And that means from all discord of every nature. And that goal is sure sure to be attained by all. If you agree with that, nod your head. Mm-hmm. And the third one that we're bringing up today in What We Believe by Ernest Holmes. And if you want to, close your eyes again. It really does help cement things. We believe in the unity of all life. And that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. So if you believe in that, say, yes, I do. You know, when we get to live like that, and we get to if we want to, but when we get to live like that, that's the grace of having a background in science of mind, principles, and practices. Why? Because we don't have to wait. We just have to be willing. Darn it. How fortunate are we, though, that we get this reward that we don't have to wait? And you're probably thinking, well, what is this reward? Well, it means not having to wait for some point way far out there. No, because the path is the light and the grace of God. And we get to be it and do it and have it along the way. Yes, there is a goal along the way for most of us. Good, we're good. Goals are good for human beings. But if we are in that beingness state of understanding where we're at, why we're at, and what we're doing, guess what? We get to expand, just like Science of Mind says, expand our lives to the greatest it can be in any moment in time. Now, who wants to live like that? Raise your hand if you want to live like that. Yes. All right, so if you do, you can prove it right now. I'm going to have you do this little thing. I just want you to close your eyes, and we're going to be in silence for just a short time. And I want you to just breathe. Just breathe. Take your breath in. And hold that beautiful breath of God. And then release it. And just with your eyes closed, I want you to envision your freedom, your liberty, and living of the life that's grace-filled for you. Just do it in this next moment. Now take that breath in and anchor it and hold it, precious and dear because it is, and then release it. And just nod your head if you liked the vision that you envisioned. Just nod your head if you liked your vision. This is a simple technique. You can use it all the time. You can use it every day, more than once a day, and it will help you get to your vision being manifested sooner than later. And it will help us be what we are individually, collectively, because part of today's talk is about the main points in our global vision that we have in Science of Mind. The first one is, we envision, we just did, we know how, we envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social justice and conscience in every area of life, every area. And that emerges in the global consciousness. Now, wouldn't our world work in freedom and liberty and peace and harmony if that were the case by the collective? Yes. Don't you want that? Yes, I do. The second point in the global vision, we envision a world where each and every person has enough food, a home, a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. Just like that song was saying. And the third one is, we see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment. This is very important to me. We see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with his or her highest spiritual principle. This emphasizes when we get to do this, when we choose to do this, that's our liberty, that's our freedom working. When we get to do this, we emphasize the unity with God that we are. We're each God's stuff. We're in this human form that we know as Reverend Bev and all these beautiful people out here, myself included. But what we are is we're all one. We're all connected because we are each made in the likeness of God, in the uniqueness that each of us are. And we have the right to use this in the highest way possible so that we can have a world that works for all, which happens to be the most global single line of vision that we know in science of mind. We envision a world that works for everyone, a world that works for all. And when I was teaching school, that's how I taught my class, so that each one of them would take that nugget of who they were and go wherever they were and take it to another place and another place so that it grows. And I was just one little person doing this. But imagine all the people doing this. Can you imagine that kind of vision happening and manifesting and having a world that works for all? I can. Nod your head if you can. All right, I like it. Say yes. Okay, the whole last point is we see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with his or her highest spiritual principle. And what happens is we collectively get that consciousness, because when we have the consciousness, those actions align. And they're doing that in that liberty, and they're doing that in freedom. Could we have the next slide, please? You know, there are two ways to live. You probably know this. One is being responsible. And to me, and I taught this to my little second graders, they didn't believe it right at first, but being responsible is what gives freedom. Because we are meant, because we're God stuff, we are meant to happen to life. We don't want life happening to us, do we? No. So we have to take charge. We have to take charge. Now, the other way to live is victim consciousness. That isn't the slide that I need. Maybe the next one? There we go. And that's called victim consciousness. And again, when I was wanting to be the best teacher I could possibly be, okay, I was going to do this and I was going to do that. And I went back to school for this and that. And one of the things, and I'm still very interested in, is whole brain learning. It goes so well with science of mind principles, okay? So the thing is, I learned about learned helplessness. Does anybody else know about learned helplessness in here? Yes. Now that can be individual, and that can be collective, and that can be generational. Now you look at our country, and we know we have freedom, and we know we have liberty, but we don't see manifested everything we see in our personal vision of what freedom and liberty means, do we? Yet. Because some of that is due to this learned helplessness. It's generational. It means that we get stuck in our I can'ts. I can't do this. I don't have enough money. I don't have this, and I don't have that, and I just can't do it. And people get stuck, and then families get stuck, and communities get stuck, and you get the picture. That's what happens. And there is a definition, and it says, the learned helplessness is a condition in which persons or person suffers from a sense of powerlessness. It's arising from a traumatic event or, what I saw a lot of, persistent failure to succeed. Haven't you ever been in a time in your life when you knew what you wanted, but you were scared stiff to do it, so you didn't do it and you didn't get it? Yeah, but can you imagine that on a more deep basis? And it's permeated into our society. What's going to happen to that liberty? What's going to happen to that freedom? And who is it up to? There you go. Okay, may I have the next slide? When you have learned optimism, you see things not with the glass half empty. You see the glass, it's half full, but we see it full. Now, when I was growing up, I was accused of being a Pollyanna because by birth, somehow, I was given this set of understanding that I could do anything. And parents who told me I could, and who gave us even though they weren't very wealthy, but they gave us whatever they could, whatever lesson, whatever this, whatever that, to ensure that we could have the confidence to go out and not be in learned helplessness, and instead in being learned optimism and give not only to ourselves, but back out into the world, because that's really the goal, right? So we don't have to stay in the stuckness, but we do need to be in the glass half full and not half empty. Now, where do you think science of mind philosophy and practices stand tall? Is it learned helplessness? No. Is it the learned optimism? Yes. Okay, but it's very important, and we can have the next slide, because if we don't take charge of our own lives, I don't have to tell you, we've lived a pretty long life so far, most of us, right? And we know what works and what doesn't work. Even if we don't always do the right thing, we still know it. And so we can choose, because we have freedom within a beingness of liberty to be and to do and to have, so that our world is a better world right here and right now, on our journey, at our goal. It's very important that we take charge, but there has to be a certain way of doing this. And as you can see from up here, we have to let go of something in order to do it, usually because we have habits. Sometimes we have good habits, sometimes not so good. Okay. So healing takes a commitment. It takes a commitment to yourself, to your family, to your whole commitments to your groups and society. And when we make a commitment to self, we join with other like-minded who made commitments to self. So now we're not just this, we're this and this and this. And that's how science of mind practices and principles work. We can't just say this is it. We have to not only be it, we have to practice doing it. That's why each one of us who stands up here on a Sunday and any other time we can to say, gosh, we're so lucky to have spiritual practices given to us. We can choose to do visioning, we can choose to do affirmation, we can choose to do prayer, affirmative prayer, which is the best in the world. We can choose and choose and choose. We can do them all, we can select. But the point is we have to do something to get out of where we've been so we can go where we want to go. And so I am saying to you that healing is very important. If you have not read this, and you can't see it in some way when you're watching it on some other channel here, healing comes from taking responsibility, to realize that it is you and no one else that creates your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. So if you believe in that, say, I sure do. So it's important personally, it's important collectively, because we don't want any of that learned helplessness. We only want that learned optimism. Or if you're lucky enough to have it from the get-go, to share that with other people right away. Okay, so we can have the next slide, please. You know, there's always a way. I've been reading a book, and in fact, I just finished it. It's called Hope is a Verb. I recommend it. And I'm sorry, I can't think of the title, or the author. Usually I think of one and then I don't know the other. Anyway, hope is a verb. Now think what that might mean. Hope is a verb. Okay, and then I found that slide that says hope is a verb with the sleeves rolled up. I wonder what that means. Okay, what it means is that we have that inside we take care of with our spiritual practices and our beingness, and then we take that beingness with our spiritual practices at the higher level because we've been practicing, and we go out and roll up our sleeves and we take part. Can you roll up your sleeves? Can you take part? That's the way it's done. Don't we have that responsibility? Don't we have that opportunity to create a world that works for all? Yes, yes, because it's our turn. We're here by divine appointment. When you think of the year and a half or so that we've been living, why are we here? We are the lights. We have no longer the right to dim our light. Our light is meant to shine and to shine and to shine and to infinity, because it is infinity. Don't get stuck in anything with a label like learned helplessness. Just be. And take that step and take that next step. And you know what? There's a quote, and it says, unity is the song of life. It is the grand theme. It's the grand theme underlying the rich variations that exist throughout the cosmos. Wherever we see, whatever we experience, is only a manifestation of this eternal oneness. Now, doesn't that sound like Ernest Holmes? But it's not. It's from The Roads to Truth, and it's from a book called Search of the New Thought's Roots. But it is time to show up. It is time because of what we just shared. And how are we going to do that? Let me read you a story. And in fact, you can go to the next slide and leave it there. And here's what the story is. You'll enjoy it. And if you want, practice just closing your eyes and breathing. It'll help you intake even better. This is called The Best Seed. There once was a farmer who grew the most excellent wheat. Every season, he won the award for the best wheat in his country. A wise woman came to him to ask him about his success. He told her that the key was sharing his best seed with his neighbors so they could plant the seed as well. The wise woman asked, "How can you share your best wheat seed with your neighbors when they compete with you every year?" "Oh, that's simple," the farmer replied. The wind spreads the pollen from everyone's wheat and carries it from field to field. If my neighbors grew inferior wheat, cross-pollination would degrade everyone's wheat, including mine. If I'm to grow the best wheat, I must help my neighbors grow the best wheat as well. This, it says, is not only excellent advice for growing the best crops, obviously, but also great advice for how to live our lives. So if you want to live a meaningful and happy life in liberty and freedom, if you want to do that, you want to do that by helping others live their best life. If you want to live a meaningful life, you'll find happiness. Remember this: the value of your life is measured by the lives you touch, which you do so with love, with kindness, respect, and hope. Now close your eyes for a second and just ask yourself, do I do that? And just take a breath in. And release. And you can open your eyes. And ask yourself, what was the meaning of this story for you? What was the meaning of this story for you? For me, this story illustrates hope is a verb. Hope is a verb, does it not? And it does it in a beautiful, kind, constructive, embracing life way. No force, just be. You know, Reverend Liz, when she was here during this COVID time, every Wednesday at noon, if we were lucky enough to be a part of this group, we had a book study on our Science of Mind textbook study. And she gave us a lot of little gems during this time. And one of them is something I'd like to give to you today, pass on to you. And she said, you all know what affirmation are, right? Affirmation is. Usually you start with, I am, right? Usually. Can you say I am? Okay, but she said, Ernest Holmes said that there are two words that make this I am magnified tenfold when you say it. And those two words are, I declare. Say that. I want to know, I declare. Say it like you mean it. I declare. There you go. Okay, and then you say your affirmation. And I have to say, I'm very staunch, as most of you know, about my daily spiritual practice. And ever since I learned about this, that's in my affirmation segment every day, twice a day. I declare. I declare. So we're going to practice. So if we can have the next slide. Okay, and this is also from Reverend Liz at a different time. And it's not from Ernest Holmes, although she thought it was. But I did some research, and it is by somebody else, but who cares, right? Okay, and as you can see, it says, I am whole, strong, perfect, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Okay, so we're going to practice this. So, and we're going to start by saying, I declare, and then we're going to read this together. Can you read it by yourself first? I'm going to give you a moment to do it so you can practice inside, just without saying it aloud. Okay, begin, I declare. I declare, and then to yourself. Okay, and now as a group, we're going to start with I declare. I declare I am whole, strong, perfect, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. And I always say, and so it is. How do you feel now? Doesn't that feel good? So what do you think the takeaways are from this story along with this affirmation? What are those takeaways for you? You have something you can walk out of here today and say, I can do this, or I can keep on doing this. I got confirmation I'm on the right track, or I got confirmation I'm doing this right, but I could even do this a little bit better, just like I say affirmation, but now I say I declare, so I can do it a little bit better. Now that's the inside stuff, right? But then there's the outside stuff, because we live in a society and we live in a human form. So we have to have the outside cradle us as we cradle the inside out. We want it to be from the outside in. I have some tips for you. From this book, Hope is a Verb. There are 4 steps, she says, to create hope as a verb. I want you to think about the story and kind of help you. The first thing is make an honest assessment. Did that farmer make an honest assessment? Yeah? Okay, then set a goal. Did he have a goal? Yes, distribute the wheat, right? The good wheat, okay? And then the third is to map a path, because all vision needs a path. We do live in this beautiful grace-filled life, but it's up to us to help maneuver us on this path of this great grace-filled life. That's why I think a map. I agree with that. So those are the first 3. And that means you take a step, but guess what you have to do after you take just that one step? What do you have to do? Take another one. You got to keep on, keeping on, don't you? Who's willing to do that? Yeah? All right. Can I say like you're really willing to do it? Can I hear it? All right. And just one more little tidbit about my second graders, because it's been in my family ever since. Another time we had a great discussion. They came up with the definition of a prayer. And the definition is, it's a wish with wings. Second graders, a wish with wings. But can't we apply it to hope? When hope is a verb, it's a wish with wings, is it not? Okay, so I really, really like that. And I thought I would share that with you, because when we get something that gives us a little bit of a chuckle, it helps cement everything that we are learning at the same time. So for me, I think the import of this talk is that just lift our awareness. Be happy that we are in a place and we have the means to lift our awareness, keep it lifted so we can be like the farmer and give that to other people. And at the same time we're doing that, we're still maintaining ourselves with the glass not there, but up here, half full. So it's win-win. It's win-win. So that's what I think. What about you? What about you? So if I could have the next slide, please. We know that our society is made up of individual minds. But we also know that we have a responsibility not only to ourselves, as we were saying in this particular talk, but as we know, by being competent, caring adults who are mature. That it's important to take on our lives so we can live like this quote says, when I becomes we, even illness becomes wellness. Is this the day to embrace overtly freedom ringing across this great nation? Yes. But why can't it be every day? Who says it should be every day? Yeah. So let every day be the day that we embrace. Don't you love that word? Let's embrace sparkling, joyful unity. That's something else that I do for my affirmation. Every day in every way, I am living sparkling, joyful liberty. It used to be sparkling, joyful unity, but it's been changed to liberty because that includes unity, okay? So I invite you, be that, do that, live in your sparkling, joyful liberty because that's being the authentic you. And no one wants to be a fake you. You want to be authentic so that I as we and we as I is the pervasive be, do, have of every single day. And let us pray. In the light of this beautiful moment, grace-filled moment, as all moments in life are grace-filled because it's the proof that God is and all there is. What a joy to understand that and know that, speak that, be that, do that in freedom, in liberty, individually and collectively. Yay! Because that's unity consciousness at work. No separation. God is and all there is. We are each authentic in a way that we can have God consciousness within us, in, through, and as, and us. Being that collective us that is giving the wheat, that is giving the love, and embracing this beautiful life every moment of every day in every way, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Understanding how the world works and working in it and with it and as it because we are it. What a blessing to understand this is the way it is. What a blessing to declare in this affirmative prayer that living this way, I know that I know that I know that God is all there is, and therefore vision is complete, and vision is manifesting right here and right now in every way, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, embracing the life of everyone, lifting anyone away from so-called learned helplessness, and lifting up to optimism that is in that be, do, have stage of life, totally. Where everyone is embracing the giving, everyone is feeling grace-filled, everyone is as it needs to be for our world to work as a world that works for all. What a joy to know that this is the truth of life. As it says in the global vision, where all life is honored as expressions of the divine, where people live according to spiritual truth, where humanity awakens to spiritual magnificence, where humanity rediscovers personal creative power, where we live as one global family, where kinship with all life prospers, where unity and connection is emphasized, where forgiveness is the norm, where forgiveness is the norm, where spiritual guidance is valued, where we are called to conscious social action, where people have enough food, homes, and a sense of belonging, where there is peace and harmony and justice for all, where resources are valued, cared for, and shared, where communities are meaningfully involved in service to the world, where there is a renewed emphasis on beauty, nature, creativity, art, and aesthetics. What a beautiful world this is, I see in my own mind's eye. I am so grateful to know of this and to know of its possibility being absolutely real, manifesting as I speak. So I give the words of this affirmative prayer unto that law, that precious, beautiful law that always says yes every single time. The hands and feet of God that say yes, yes, yes. It is so, it is done. And you and I can affirm and aver by saying, and so it is. Thank you. And for a benediction.
Thank you for participating in our service. You can do online giving by texting GIVE to 951-420-6909. You can visit our website at cslbeaumont.org and click the donate button at the bottom or the top of the screen. Or you can mail your donation to Center for Spiritual Living, 802 Maple Avenue, Beaumont, California, 92223. If you enjoyed this service and are watching on YouTube or Facebook, please like and share this video and add a comment on it. If you haven't already on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and hit the little notification bell to be updated when we post new content. For those on Zoom, visit our Facebook page to comment and share to help spread this message.